Hey YouTube, my name is Jacob, and I'm a 29-year-old male that lives in the state of Oklahoma. Um, I'm making this video to kind of start a vlog, I guess, of um, my journey with weight loss. Um, but in order to understand the journey, you have to understand the journey to the weight loss. You have to understand the road that I had to take to get to where I am to need this. Um, all my life, I've kind of been a little bit bigger than everybody else. I mean, as you can see just from looking at my webcam, I'm not a small guy. Um, I'm just not. Um, and it's not because uh, that I believe that it's anything genetic or hereditary. It's that I've dug this hole for myself. Um, I guess where it all started was when I was probably 7 or 8 years old. Um, I lived in a house where my father was not a really nice guy. He was physically abusive, he was mentally abusive, and you know, as a kid, I just kind of found myself comforted by food, I guess. And I created that really unhealthy attachment to it at a young age. Um, I viewed it as something to comfort me, not something that I needed to be able to sustain and live. Um, and because of that, as I got older, um, I started having additional unhealthy attachments to food. I started eating when I was happy, when I was sad. You know, we eat when we mourn, we eat when we celebrate. Um, so I was eating all the time. I was happy, I was sad, I was bored, I was celebrating something, I was mourning something. Um, constantly, just constantly barraging my body with food. And it's not like I'm eating, you know, I'm a big guy. I don't eat normal serving sizes. I eat a lot. Um, you know, I've changed my ways, but you know, the damage is done. You know, um, back in the day, I would think having, you know, the majority of a pizza was no big deal, or um, gorging on hamburgers or whatever was no big deal. Um, and then the damage was already done. You know, I would say that I could have been manageable when I was in high school. Um, more manageable, I guess, should be the way I describe it. Um, I was big, yes, but I probably could have changed things fairly easily, but I didn't. Um, After high school, I got a job working in IT, um, which is a very sedentary job. You know, get around and move much. You're in a chair all day. Um, and in that time, a girl that I knew from high school and I had developed feelings for each other mutually, and we started dating. We dated for a while, and she was in another town a couple hours away, going to school, and we arrived at a point where we discussed me and her living in an apartment together off campus in that town, and I agreed to it. Um, and I moved in with her, and I was even then I was still manageable, I would say. Uh, but unfortunately, things didn't work out. and we split up, and that hurt really bad, um, and that caused me to have uh, those feelings of depending on food to comfort me kick in. It definitely didn't help that I then started drinking alcohol really heavily. Um, as far as weight wise goes, it's just a bunch of empty calories, especially beer. Beer was what I drank mostly. Um, and I drank really um, not good beers as far as calories and carbohydrates go. Um, most of the time when you drink a beer, it's 6 to 8 pieces of bread worth of carbohydrates, and when you down 5, 6, 10, 12 beers, you know you have exploded the amount of carbs that you should be taking in. Um, and that's what I was doing. I was eating, I was drinking, uh, and I would say even then, even after that, I was still probably mostly manageable. I had gained a bit of weight, probably 40 pounds in the next several months, maybe 50. And then fast forward about a year from the time that she and I split up, and I met another girl, and we hit it off, and um, she made me feel attractive at all sizes, if that makes sense. She didn't. She considered me attractive to her, regardless of how large or small I was, and I let that kind of play into how I handled myself. I just didn't care. If she didn't care, and if she loved me and I loved her, then it was no big deal. And I just kind of put that in the back of my mind. I didn't really worry about my health uh, pretty much at all. Um, we were together for several years, and we even got married. We bought this house together, actually, um, but we split up, and my weight just went out of control. Um, I finally ballooned up really bad, up to my heaviest at 470 pounds. Um, and I still didn't even care, even at that point. Um, and then shortly after, my wife passed away. Or my wife didn't pass away. I'm sorry. My wife and I uh, divorced. My little brother passed away, and I continued that cycle, just using food and alcohol to um, comfort me. And like I said, I finally ballooned up to 470 pounds. And I woke up one day and I finally decided enough was enough. I kind of had a breakdown, I guess. My little brother was a Marine. He was very in shape. Could run 6 and 10 miles a day like it was no big deal. It didn't take the skin off his back at all. Um, he just did it all the time. And I looked up to him. It takes a certain kind of person to enroll in any kind of military, but when you consider a lot of the things that you hear going on in the world, a lot of times it's Marines that are there frontlining it. And so I looked up to him a lot, and he had always tried to get me. to start getting into shape. He tried ushering me into the gym and stuff, and I I didn't really pay attention to it. I didn't think it was a big deal. Um, and then when he passed away, I kind of had an existential moment. I kind of looked looked on myself a lot, uh, and realized, you know, I've got to do something. I've got to change something. So that's where we usher in this second portion. Uh, Me making the decision to get something done. Um, I actually started becoming consciously aware of my uh, poor health, and I became consciously aware of how big I had actually gotten. Some of the things that I used to enjoy, I couldn't enjoy anymore. It started causing me sleeping problems. Um, and that's something that I think that a lot of people that get to this size don't think about. Uh, in on that road to getting that large, there are a lot of complications that can come up, and I for one am very lucky. I have very few things that are uh, really wrong with me. Um, uh, One thing that people don't think about is swelling of your extremities. I believe they call it lymphedema. Um, my arms don't do it, uh, but one of my legs does it really bad. It swells up really bad. And it'll go down if I put my leg up for a while. But when you consider that I work in an office environment, I don't get to kick back. So um, it does start swelling pretty bad. Um, and I'm lucky because a lot of people that experience this experience pain, but I don't. Thankfully I don't have that negative, well, additional negative side to that particular issue. Um, it can cause heart issues. It's caused me sleeping issues. Um, a lot of people don't realize it, but you get really bad apnea when you get big. Uh, and because of the snoring and the apnea that you develop as you get larger, it affects your sleep. And when your sleep is affected, that can affect your heart additionally, because your heart's constantly trying to work overtime to uh, to keep everything going, because you're not hitting that REM sleep. You're not hitting that good deep sleep in which your body can kind of rest and recuperate. So yeah, it does cause the problems with that, which then in turn causes problems with staying awake the next day. I have that problem. I won't say all the time, but semi frequently, um, because my body just didn't get to rest the way that it should the night before. Um, those are the big problems that I have had. Um, Other people, you're looking at diabetes, and some people don't think diabetes is that bad, uh, but it can kill you due to horrible infections and things like that. You can lose extremities, fingers, hands, toes, feet, just horrible, horrible effects. And if you're diabetic, you take a lot longer to heal through injuries and things of that nature. And that's what helps infections set in, and loss of limb is through that. Um, One day when I woke up, I had noticed that my sleep wasn't that great. Uh, my lower extremities, well, at least my right leg, my left leg doesn't do it so much. Uh, swelled, but would go down with rest and ice, compression, elevation, um, stuff like that. Uh, and for a while I ignored it, and then finally one day I decided, you know what, I need to go see the doc. I need to get a checkup. So I went ahead and I got a full battery of tests run. I had all my blood taken. I had a urinalysis done. Um, Thankfully, I wasn't diabetic. How, I don't know. I'm very lucky in that regard that I'm not. Um, but my um, blood pressure was high, um, which can lead to heart attacks and strokes and stuff. Uh, and uh, I had a couple other numbers that they wanted to see changed, especially my cholesterol. My good cholesterol was a little low, my bad cholesterol was a little high. Um, so they wanted to see that changed. And that's when I talked to my doctor about looking at getting surgery, in enrolling in a bariatrics program. And a lot of people think that things like this are um, an easy out, but they're really not. Uh, Take a look at YouTuber Boogie2988. He had his done about 7 weeks ago, I think. But it's not an easy thing. It's not an easy thing to get done. Even the surgeons will tell you it's not just having something done and magically you lose this weight. It's a tough road. And a lot of bariatric programs require that you go through some steps before they'll even allow you to get this done. A lot of insurances, if they cover any kind of bariatric programs, will require a history of trying to trying to lose weight and failing through exercise or dieting or whatever else. Medications. Sometimes there's medications that they'll put you on. Um, but it's not the easy way out. It's definitely not. Um, I have enrolled because I don't care if I'm skinny. I've never been skinny, so if I'm not skinny at any time in my life, I'm okay with that. I want to be healthy though. So I've started the steps to get that done, and that's what this video is. This is an introduction to me trying to get better, as well as kind of an explanation as to why um, I got to where I am. Um, it was not a short road to get to where I am. It's not going to be a short road to get to where I want to be. Um, I have started the process. They make you see a psychiatrist because they want a psychologist because they want to make sure that there are not certain uh, mindsets that you might have that could disqualify you from this. Um, I have met with my personal trainer, so I've started a personal training regimen. Um, and then I see my dietitian on October 2nd, as well as the surgeon on October 2nd, to kind of talk about um, progress I've made, what my goals are, what my expectations are from the surgery. Um, I know this video is running a little long, but hopefully somebody out there sees this and understands, you're not alone in this. There are a lot of people that are dealing with this. There are a lot of different ways to deal with it. Um, and I would say that if you meet with your doctor, talk to your doctor, see if you are manageable before considering surgery. I know that sounds maybe hypocritical, but I've been dealing with this for a long time. I've tried dieting, I've tried exercising. Um, I'm finding that having a trainer helps me because I've got somebody there that can tailor my exercises to me. Uh, because when you put on a lot of pounds, you can put a lot of stress on your knees, your back, uh, stuff, your ankles, stuff like that. So they can tailor it to you, and I'm finding that that's helping me. Um, I've been doing what I can, and I've been eating better even without the assistance of the dietitian yet. And it's brought my blood pressure way down. I'm feeling a lot better. Um, not sleeping better yet, but I am doing in-home studies for that stuff right now. I just turned in an in-home study to the company that will determine if I need to do any kind of CPAP testing or anything like that. I should hear back from them this week. Um, so if you're experiencing these things, if you're considering um, anything like bariatric surgery, um, just know you're not alone. Know that it's not easy. If you're considering doing this, if you think that you're just going to go to a surgeon and say, hey, uh, you know, cut me open and take part of my stomach out, or depending on whatever surgery you decide, it doesn't work that way. So talk to your primary care first. See if there's something you guys can get going for you right now. See if that helps you. You may not need the surgery. Uh, your doctor may be able to get you set up with a dietitian um, and a personal trainer, and the weight might just melt off of you. You never know. Um, but just know that in your grand journey of losing weight, you're not alone. There's a lot of people out there, um, just like you and me, that are just trying to get healthy. We're finding more and more evidence that the lifestyle that I've led and other people might lead just puts one foot in that grave, and it's not worth it. It's just not. Um, so I will update you guys on this later this week when I find out what I have to do as far as my sleep testing goes. I have my next personal trainer appointment tomorrow and Friday of this week. And I will update you guys on how that went. Um, so, for anybody that sat through this, thanks for sitting through it. I realize it's 24 minutes long. Uh, but thanks, and I wish you all the best on your own journey for weight loss. Thanks.